All right, it's Thursday, August 3rd. This is an end of the day SPY recap. Recapping it here on my laptop computer as I'm away from my main system. But anyway, today we end up with a kind of a two down continuation. Stayed below the midpoint of the prior day. We closed a little bit green. So after a big gap down yesterday, um, you're expected to take out the low of yesterday, which it did right at the open. I'll get to that in a minute. The thing is, it really was. It's again, keep in mind after that red bar, there's no real actionable signal for continuation to the downside. And on the weekly chart, after our two down week unfolded yesterday, the target was really just to the low, to broaden out, was to the low of this bar right here. And then we get into some gap support possibly in this area on the weekly chart. So right out of the gates, the market opened up at our weekly target down here. And that's why perhaps it's just pausing to see what happens next. Do we start back up in some fashion, or do we just pause and continue lower, given we're going to likely close with a red bar into the end of the week, and then that might mean continuation lower. So that's why when you look at the 15-minute chart out of the gates, you kind of see here the pre-market range between the blue lines. The first bar opened up red, but kind of paused here. And again, you've reached all targets at this point. That's why it's a little tricky to know. You don't want to necessarily go long because you're below the midpoint of the prior day, but you're not ready for, momentum continuation short. You're just kind of watching. And then it paused on bar two. To me, I see this as a pretty good shooter bar here to try a short trade to see if you're going to get that continuation. You get short right in here on the breakout on bar four, takes out just like expected, the low, and that's what you're really judging at this point. You're gonna, at that point, you take out your target, first bar low, and you're looking for continuation, but you immediately get the green bar to show a possible failure. So to me, if you're going to trade the SPY and look for momentum, as soon as you see this bar here, you got to break even, on bar number 5. And at that point, I kind of wasn't surprised that it would come up and then try to take out some stops, which would be the high of the day and these pre-market highs right here. I mean, the actual pre-market high from yesterday was here, but there was a little pivot point right here. So the market came up, took that out, got up to the pre-market highs, and then just fell back for the rest of the session. So it was just kind of a thing where, out of the gates, there was no actionable signal. It tried to go lower, but then it immediately failed. Had a little bit of a, pullback, and then just settled in. So it's not like you were really going long here because you're not above the, the pre-market range of the high, or the midpoint of yesterday, but you kind of know it's heading up there to kind of get some liquidity before possibly heading lower. And I'm not saying this was a good afternoon trade to try a short either, because you don't really know if you're going to be taking out the low of the day. So, it's just type of thing where not much to do today in the SPY. And on the monthly chart, you can see here, we're just kind of inside of a green month that at any moment could, pause in here and start back up towards our bigger picture target at the yellow line. But like I had said, we're going to have to wait for that weekly chart, which is up here, to kind of start reversing in some way. Let me get the arrow, before we could, right in here, before we can start getting comfortable, back to the long side. So we can still end the week red, and then that'll look for follow through into next week. We'll look for weekly reversals to see if that monthly chart, starts back up green. But for now, a little bit of a tricky day. Let's see, is there an actionable signal? I mean, I guess you have a 2-up signal tomorrow, but that's not into real weekly continuity. So the best trades would be a little bit of a move up here that fail and then start back down until that weekly chart turns up again up here. So again, you can go with an actionable signal to the upside if it unfolds tomorrow, a 2-up bar, but you would have to see if you get to this target up here. If you fail to reach this target, then there could be a good short signal coming into next week. And it is possible, you can see here a little bit of a selling tail that we just go lower tomorrow, but that would be a trade to take as well. It's not an actionable signal, but since you kind of paused in here, I would like that actually more so than today, because you came down here for 4 days. This is more of a pause day in the trend, and we can end up nice and red tomorrow. So, if we stay below the midpoint and see where the pre-market range, that could be a good short trade tomorrow. We'll just have to see where price action leads us. But today it was more of just maybe one attempt to go short, but almost an immediate, um, exit for break even type of thing, and then just nothing much to do for the rest of the day. So we'll see how things go to end the week tomorrow.